94.0. This is our regular weekly show, Your Voice with Muazzam and Sandhu. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about what is happening in Afghanistan, the current ongoing crisis and Kabul fall, the Taliban takeover. Very interesting and very concerning situation has created so many questions uh, has created, and so many questions need to be answered, so many concerns need to be responded. Ladies and gentlemen, the international media very closely watching and covering what is happening in Kabul. Hundreds of thousand people are there in Kabul or in Afghanistan. They wanted to leave the Afghanistan, and we have seen the footages on the media, on the live coverage, that many of the people running on the thousands of people running on the Kabul runway. They wanted to flee from Kabul to different part of the world, and yes, we appreciate that the United Kingdom, the UK government, has announced the resettlement of the refugees of 20,000 Afghanis in the UK. And in the first phase, they offered 5,000 Afghanis to settle here, and overall 20,000 in support of the international treaty and international refugee convention of United Nations 1951. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you one thing. In United Nations, there is a convention, Refugee Convention 1951. Under that convention, all of the member states of United Nations, they are bound and duty bound to give the assistance to the refugees from worldwide, wherever anybody facing the persecution, facing the threats of persecution, or facing the threats of their life, or any other serious harm to them. The international community and international states must show compassion towards them and provide the protections to those citizens. Now, as the new situation has created, I don't want to go in very detail, and we will cover that part in another show. That what has happened in Afghanistan, how the United States failed to establish the government according to their style, according to the international norms, or according to the democratic norms. Why they failed there after spending 20 years. These are the concerns and questions. It's not the question of just the observers or the people who are closely watching and following the international affairs or international news and the current affairs of different countries, but these are the questions of every common man, that how a very strong power, the superpower of the world, who spent 2 decades in Kabul and in Afghanistan. They were running their own government. How they failed there, and on last Saturday, ladies and gentlemen, on the weekend, the government's offices, the president palace, all the important buildings, all the important places in Afghanistan has been took over by Taliban, and it shows that there are some flaws, or there were so many things need to be discussed. There are so many concerns, and of course the allied forces and the allied countries who joined hands of United States in order to establish the democratic state in Afghanistan. They were also their role is also questionable. That why they are unable to what was the reasons behind these all of the situations happened. And of course so much need to say about it. Some of the countries and the nations, or I can say people on the social media, they were celebrating the takeover of Taliban, and the other are showing their concerns, and they were not happy what is happening there. Of course, whoever not is happy what is happening there, their concerns are based on the international rights, international human rights, the rights of the women, the rights of the children. Of course, in 20 years ago, when the Taliban ruled in Afghanistan from 1996 to 2001, during that time, they they failed to give the rights, the proper rights to the women. They failed to give the rights. The women were not allowed to work along with the men. They were not allowed to get education. They were not allowed to go out to do their work or for other household activities without having accompanied with a relative male. There are so many things which they were not observed in the previous regime, but the one thing which is very important, and I think the world has appreciated, because the Taliban spokespersons, they have recently delivered a press conference which was very important. And from that press conference, ladies and gentlemen, the first impression has been given to the world that what is in their mind, and they ensured that the Taliban new regime said that after settling and after announcing our new government, we definitely will going to protect the rights of the women, the rights of the children. The women's rights will be protected according to the international law, and they ensured to the world leaders and the world organizations or world international authorities that the women's rights will definitely will be considered. The women will be allowed to go out for work. The women will be allowed to work shoulder to shoulder with the men. The women will be allowed to get the education, and the women will be allowed to do whatever they want to do in order to empower themselves within the society and within the community, and they can play their role, they can continue play their role. We have seen, ladies and gentlemen, in these situations, there were some women who came out and they protested against the Taliban. And I have seen the images wherein the women are standing holding the placard, and the handwritten messages they were showing and protesting on the streets of the Kabul. And the most important part is that a gunman is standing in front of them, and they were ensuring to the woman that your rights will be protected. We will ensure we ensure you, and we will make sure your rights will you can continue exercising your rights, such as getting the education, going for work, and others. So these images, we on the other hand side, I really appreciate those women who showed that courage, and the world appreciated those women, and there are lots of tweets and lots of their images get viral just in a minutes, because the impression of Taliban is kind of a horrifying villain, or they will kill anyone who is standing in front of them, or they will shoot all of those who are challenging them, and they will kill them. And but we have seen the a man who is holding a gun. He's calm, he's peaceful, he's not doing anything wrong against those women who are protesting and who are chanting the slogans against Taliban. The women's concerns said they repeated that we don't want to lose those achievements or developments which we have gained during 2 decades, during 20 years. And of course they were right in their demands, and their demands and their rights are very legitimate. We uh, in Ladies and gentlemen, there's so much to say, and we are so far in a very very early stage, and early state of situation, and we can't say anything. But the concerns, the world concerns, the Western countries concerns, the people who are living abroad, and the people whose relatives are living in Afghanistan, and they are part of armed forces, their family members from amongst the allied troops, whether or not they are from the NATO forces, British forces, US forces, or the European forces, or any other country's forces. They, of course, are concerned, and rest of the country is also concerned, ladies and gentlemen. These things must be answered. People are waiting. People want the Taliban government's. Uh, there is another concept which I am telling you through this program, that of course the Taliban, they are local people. They are they are belongs to they are local people, and they are belongs to the Afghanistan, and the local citizens or the residents do have rights to exercise their political activities, do have rights to form a political party or do their political activities. But of course the world can never be accept such kind of the activities with the armed militants who can take over the established political government, or a government which is elected by the public. If the Taliban want to run the country of Afghanistan, and they cannot live alone and cut off from rest of the world. Of course they are part of this globe, they are part of this world, they are part of this whole universe, and they cannot live without help having a support of the world leaders. They cannot live without having the membership of the United Nations. They need the foreign offices rest of in worldwide, and they need to have their foreign policy. And of course they can be part of the world if they show the true democratic values, the two true international values which the all of the world are agreed on, such as giving the basic rights to their public. Taliban can run their country. The world will have no objection on that, the people will have no objection on that, if they come within the power by the elections, or by conducting the proper political activities, and giving the full rights to the other political parties to contest the elections, and let the people decide what kind of the governments they want. If they want the Sharia government, Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, Islamic laws, or of course Afghanistan is an Islamic country, and there should not be any other law which the people of the Afghanistan reject it, because the ultimate power belongs to people. The people of all of the world, they have rights to elect their respective governments, respective political parties, whoever the thinks they have the better manifesto, they have better plan for them, whoever giving a surety to protection of the people's rights, the rights of freedom, the freedom of expression, the freedom of journalism, the freedom of education, the freedom of business, the freedom of formation of the political parties, freedom of assembly, freedom of protest, and freedom of children rights, freedom of women's rights, freedom of marriage, freedom of practicing their own respective religions. Uh, there's so much to say about those things, which of course the world will appreciate those things. But at the moment, we can see the Taliban who who have very rightful in taking a revenge, but they are not taking any revenge. We haven't seen any bloodshed in Afghanistan since the Saturday. We haven't seen they killing the people. We haven't seen they arresting all of the allied forces troops, or involved in such kind of the terrifying or terrorist activities. At the moment, the only images we can see, they are fully equipped with the armed rocket launchers. The militant groups, they are entering into the president palace. They are doing the exercise in a gym while holding the rocket launcher, and they are in the gymnasium, they are in the park, they are in the children park, they're everywhere. These images of course are not welcomed. The people don't accepting by their mind that what kind of things will happen in future. But the current regime, they're giving the assurity to the world that just give us a little time and we will give you the more details about our country and about our plans and about our future manifesto, and which will be acceptable for worldwide. So that is appreciable, and we are waiting for that. One more thing which I will tell you today, because our show was a little late, and we this is not our 1 hour show. This will be a short show wherein we are just sharing our views and concerns and latest updates what is happening in Afghanistan. But of course, we will follow on this program from now onward, and we'll have a more guest on board to have a proper debate on different aspects and ideologies of Taliban, and what will happen and how the world will respond. The one thing which I will appreciate about the recent announcement from United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, who give the directions to the world leaders and Western countries such as Netherlands, Switzerland, Germany, United Kingdoms, United States, and rest of the world. They give the directions: please do not deport Afghanis to Afghanistan since the Taliban took over the country, and this will be not a right move. And from then, ladies and gentlemen, it is appreciable that a lot of countries have suspended the deportation flights to the Afghanistan, and because all of the Afghanis people, wherever they are living, they can still continue living and exercising their rights within that countries, because the situation has escalated in Afghanistan since the Taliban took over and the Kabul fall from Saturday. One more thing which the British people were saying and criticizing, which is that the the state minister Dominic Raab, who was caught off guard, and he was on holidays, and he spent a spokesperson from the hotel where he's staying. He not a spokesperson, a holiday maker from the hotel where the Dominic Raab is staying. They said that he was on beach all the day of the Saturday when the situation is getting so worst. Hundreds of thousands of Britons are in Afghanistan. They need the urgent attention and support, and rescue operations must have been taken from the UK government. And on the other hand side, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he was on Somerset as well over the weekend, and he rushed back since the Kabul fall, the Taliban takeover. He rushed back to his office because the situation escalated, and these are, I think, two offices and the government's responses and the government's authorities. They played a little irresponsible roles because Taliban didn't took over just in a moment, or they didn't give a surprise. I think these news were in circulation since a few weeks, ladies and gentlemen, and the governments must have the information from the grounds, what is happening, what would be happen, and what kind of the operations they have taken in terms of giving the protection to their citizens and their residents. The UK government is committed and responsible to bringing their residents and citizens back safely. There are since so many troops, British armed forces officers and relevant officials and British citizens are in Afghanistan, and they need urgent assistance from the UK and the world authorities, and especially the UK governments, that they give immediately protections. At the moment, 7,000 troops are encircled the Kabul International Airport to giving the protections, but a large number of the Taliban are encircled them, uh, which surrendering them uh, from there. But still, the good news is that we haven't seen any tension there, and the government is the world leaders and the world authorities are providing the every kind of the assistance to all of the people who want to flee from Afghanistan. And these things will continue, and we will see that very soon. The evacuation process and the operations will be completed successfully, and we hope, ladies and gentlemen, the new regime of Taliban will ensure the world and to the rest of the international authorities, that they will ensure the all of the progress of human rights will not be wasted, and they will uphold the basic human rights and the basic human values within their new regime, and they will not do any revenge from the previous government. These are the few updates which we were talking about, and ladies and gentlemen, we will come back again with few guests and experts, and we will talk about and we will follow this this news and this Kabul and Afghanistan affairs from now onward. Keep watching and listening Revive FM 94.0. Thank you very much.